Hi, my name is Brent Mai. I am the Dean of Libraries at the University of North Florida in Jacksonville, Florida, also the Director of the Wolgadeutsche Institut at the university there. Today I'm going to talk about the Volga German settlements in California from 1764 to 1887 and then now to 2022. So California was admitted to the Union and to the United States on the 9th of September in 1850, and only a short time later, just 30 years, almost 40 years later, the Volga Germans began to arrive, the first group arriving in Fresno, California on the 19th of June in 1887. So you can tell that the Volga Germans were involved in California life almost from the beginning of California. This slide shows you a list of the Volga German settlements areas that are in California, from some of the biggest cities, from Los Angeles and San Francisco, Sacramento, to also very small towns where you have Volga Germans living today. But the largest group of Volga Germans, the second largest group in the United States, is located in Fresno, California. Still today, there are many, many Volga German families that live in the Fresno area of Central California. The first Volga Germans arrived, as I mentioned, on the 19th of June in 1887. This group was comprised of 31 men, women, and children in the following families: from Andreas, Berg, Karle, Kerner, Metzler, Mehling, Nielmeyer, and Steitz. They arrived in the first group. And a second group and third group arrived shortly thereafter, included Bitter, Bopp, Diehl, Gleim, Hartwig, Heinze, Hubert, Lieber, Roth, Scherer, and Schwabenland. And those families can all still be found in the Fresno area today. This is a picture of the train depot in Fresno where they arrived. The Fresno's Volga Germans came from the following colonies that are shown on this list. You can see there are many, many of them from both the Bergseite and the Wiesenseite. And Fresno, they began arriving there in 1887 directly from Russia without stopping in Kansas or Nebraska, which is what most of the Volga Germans were doing at that time. They would stop there and settle for a few years and then move on to other areas. But the group in Fresno started going directly to Fresno in 1887. I have now 3 slides that show all of the families that have been identified that settled in and around Fresno in California's Central Valley. This is the first slide. Many, many families that you can see. Many of them will be recognized by those who are watching this cast. A lot of them still have family members there, and they have spread from Fresno to other parts of California as well. From Adolf to Zitterkopf. All right, I want to read you a little segment from the newspaper, the Fresno Republican, on the 24th of June. So just right after they had arrived there, in Fresno, the local newspaper reported on them. It says, on Monday, 8 men and women and 7 children, immigrants from the German colony in Russia, arrived at Fresno, having come for the purpose of securing occupations as farm laborers, and like most people from the old country, with the intention of securing land of their own in this country, where land is yet so plentiful and so cheap. German peasants, fresh from the fields of their nativity, are not often seen here, and the odd dress of both men and women has attracted a good bit of attention when seen on the streets. And this picture on the right shows what they were wearing when they arrived in Fresno. Bright colors predominate in the costume of both sexes, and all of them appear quite clean and tidy, although there is not much style about their clothes. All the men but one are farmers, and he is a carpenter. They are apparently sober and industrious people and likely to find plenty of work if they are quick to learn the manners and customs of this country. So Fresno was ready for them. Now I have a few pictures of what Fresno looked like at the time. This one was taken in 1882, right before they arrived. It shows in the foreground St. Joseph's Catholic Church. The next one shows another picture actually taken from the church looking the other direction from Fresno in 1884. This is the corner of L Streets and Old Mill Ditch. Both of those come from the San Joaquin Valley Library System. Another picture, this one is taken in 1888, right after they arrived in Fresno, looking down what today is Fulton Street. So you can see this was not a big city. This was still a very rural area. Not a lot of people were living in Fresno yet, and the Volga Germans began arriving in large numbers then after 1887. What developed was a neighborhood of Volga Germans with its center in what was called then Russian Town and German Town. This is a little map of all of the historical buildings that were located in that area after 1900. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the churches and the development of this neighborhood. The original Lutheran Cross Church is shown in this picture as well. It was built in 1895. The reason that a lot of the detail is available for this neighborhood is because in Fresno, like had happened in Portland, Oregon, and in Denver, Colorado, the Volga German neighborhoods were cut by new freeways that were built in these cities. And so this area, the freeway that was being constructed was the Route 99 and 41, split right in the middle of this neighborhood. And one of the big issues for that was they needed to relocate one of the buildings. So on this slide, you can see the German Lutheran Cross Church in Fresno is beginning its journey to move one block to the north and one block to the west from its current location at that time to make room for the Yosemite Freeway in 1948. So you can see in the lower picture in the right where the church was located, and then they've prepared the location for where it's located today. You can see just above that. I found it also interesting to note that the sidewalk superintendents, who were not involved with the moving of the church directly, but they were members of the congregation, so they were there every day to supervise this sort of thing. They're all Volga Germans. George Christian, Peter Weber, Jacob Diebert, Martin Scheidemann, John Messinger, Jacob Alles, Fred Riebensdorf, John Clem, and Philip Ryder. And there's a picture of them on this slide as well. So here you can see where the church was moved to its new location, and then the picture on the right-hand side shows the cross church as it looks today. And currently serves as the Fresno Temple Church of God. So the Volga Germans are no longer worshiping there. They moved the congregation moved out more into the suburbs of the Fresno area. So this shows that same little square of 4 blocks that was the center of the Volga German neighborhood at that time. And you can see how the freeway, Highway 41, cut directly over where the Cross Church was located. So it had to be moved. Many of the other buildings in that area were just torn down, and the entire community was separated that way. And as I mentioned before, the same thing happened in Portland. Interstate 5 goes directly through the former Volga German neighborhood. And in Denver, the Volga German community was completely cut through by I-70 and I-25. So that happened in several cities. So the Volga Germans in the Fresno area now populate most of Fresno County. Originally, in 1891, there were 167. It grew rapidly. 1899, 734. By 1970, there were 100,000 Volga Germans living in Fresno, and today you'll find 250,000 approximately Volga Germans and their descendants living in the Fresno Valley there. So it's one of the largest Volga German communities in North America, and still a very important part of the Fresno community. There have been a number of politicians and other famous people from this area that have a Volga German background. So you can't talk about California without also talking about Hollywood as well. And so there are a number of Volga Germans who are famous actors and actresses and involved in the entertainment industry. And here, I've chosen just 4 of them to highlight here. One of them, Vivian Edwards, who was born Katharina Hart in Laub. She actually did settle in Fresno. And then she was a famous actress in the silent movie era. She's credited with 57, silent films, and was very famous, very important for the people of Fresno to have had somebody like that coming from their area. She started out just as a seamstress working in the movie industry, and then got into the movies herself. Over on the right-hand side, you can see John Harmon. He's been in over 250 feature films, dozens of syndicated TV shows, and his Volga German ancestors came from the colony of Neubauer. He was also somebody you would see often when I was growing up in the movies, on TV and in the movies. So below him is Marina Klevano. She's best known for her roles in the HBO series True Blood and Lifetime's Devious Maids. Her Volga German ancestors came from the colonies of Jagodnaya Polyana and Pobachnaya. And she also is still acting today and very famous in America. The newest one, to my knowledge, is Randy Flagler, who is an actor that appeared in several TV shows and feature films. He's best known as Harold Kapp on both Chicago Fire and Chicago PD, where he plays the role of Harold there. So you, as an American, may not know that these are Volga Germans, but they are very famous Volga Germans in the Hollywood scene. You can find more of them on the Volga German Institute website, and the link to that is given here on this slide. And you look under biographies, and you can also then search the biographies by different disciplines, so you can find entertainment there, and you'll see a whole list of Volga Germans who are famous in the entertainment industry, not just in North America, but all around the world. So if you've got questions about this, I welcome your contacting me at any time. You've got my email address there at the University of North Florida, or you can always reach me through contacting the webmaster for the Volga German Institute. All right, thank you very much.